Baseball prospects are like gambling. You know there's risk involved when you invest too many, but when you get that big return on investment, you forget about the shortcomings and heartaches along the way. Now, the former top prospects I'm going to be discussing about today would be the equivalent of you still see some optimism in them, but in the back of your mind you're wondering, should you hedge your bet or cut your losses altogether? So in total for this video, I want to talk about 12 players. 8 players that are for sure on their make or break year, and which if they still perform well this year, they'll have a future with their team, but if not, things could go sour. They will either have to fight for a roster spot or playing time, they could potentially be non-tendered, or they need a change of scenery and they could be traded as well. The other 4 players on my list are the cusp players. If they show promise or put it all together, the limelight could return for these once heralded top prospects. But if more inconsistency ensues, whether that's on the field and not producing or not being able to stay on the field, I feel these teams will start planning for possible alternatives for these players once considered franchise-changing players. With all of that said, if you do enjoy the content that Paint the Black Baseball brings, maybe you give me a like and subscribe. But let's get into the 4 players that I have on the cusp of a make it or break year, and then we'll get into the 8 players that do have a make or break year. And for this video, there really isn't a ranking, so I'm just going to go in alphabetical order of their last names with the 4 players and with the 8 players. So the first player on the cusp for me is JJ Bleday, who is an outfielder and was picked 4th overall by the Miami Marlins in 2019. The highest he was ever ranked as a prospect was in 2021 with Major League Baseball at number 20. He currently has 1.055 years of experience in the big leagues. He started his Major League career with the Marlins, but now he is in Oakland as he was traded for AJ Puk on February 11th, 2023. And so far in his big league career, with around enough at-bats for a full season, he has accumulated negative .02 WAR. But once again, this is way too low a service time for this to be a make it or break it year for him. But I will say JJ definitely needs to show more this year with him entering his age 26 season. I think if he shows flashes and signs, he'll definitely get 2025 and beyond to prove himself as well. But worst case, if he can't stay healthy or continues to have an OPS below 700, I think he'll either have to fight for a roster spot with the potential to be a bench player, as to why I think he needs to show promise this season to have job security. Next up on the cusp list for me, we have starting pitcher McKenzie Gore, who was drafted 3rd overall in 2017 by the San Diego Padres. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was number 5 in 2020 by both Major League Baseball and Baseball Prospects. He is now a member of the Washington Nationals after being part of the Juan Soto trade in 2022. He has accumulated 2 years of Major League experience, and when it comes to McKenzie Gore, I think he needs to show some improvement this year in order to still be seen as a future number 1 or number 2 starter. So far in the big leagues, he hasn't been awful, but he also hasn't been special. The good thing is he has shown flashes of the dominance he can display. I just feel like if he doesn't make those improvements this year, he's going to be looked at as closer to a number 3 or number 4 starter than he would be a top of the rotation starter like he was talked about. So I think year 3 is a big year for McKenzie Gore and his future as a big leaguer. He won't lose his spot in the rotation per se, but the Nationals may have to look elsewhere for a top of the rotation starter. Next up is outfielder Jarred Kellick, who was the 6th overall pick in 2018 by the New York Mets. He has been traded twice, being the top piece in the Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz trade, and then he was just traded to the Atlanta Braves this offseason as part of a salary dump. The highest Kellick was ranked as a prospect was number 4 in 2021 by Baseball America and Major League Baseball. Jarred to me is an interesting case. With his 1.169 years of experience, he showed flashes in 2023 that he could be the star he was supposed to be, but he also had a very bad regression to the point that he broke his foot on a water cooler. Now with Kellick on the Braves, the pressure really isn't on him to live up to the hype now, but he's also the strange case where next year could decide a lot. Best case scenario, he could be seen once again as a top talent with the sky being the limit. Medium case scenario, he's a major leaguer under control for years to come. Or the worst case scenario would be having a season where the Braves are already considering bringing in some competition for left field next year. Keep in mind, he'd have to be really terrible for that to happen, like an OPS below 700 and being a bad defender. But with him showing the flashes of stardom last year and also having a career so far where he's been really bad as well, it'll be interesting to see how he turns out in 2024 and beyond. Last of the players I have on the cusp is first baseman Spencer Torkelson, who was the #1 overall pick in 2020 by the Detroit Tigers. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was in 2021 when he was the #3 prospect in baseball. He has accumulated 1.137 years of Major League service time so far. Why I have Spencer Torkelson on the cusp is because so far in his Major League career, he had one truly god-awful season and one season where he was solid, but also keep in mind, solid is not good enough at a premium hitting position like first base, and he was also a former first overall pick. So this is why I think 2024 will be big for the Tigers deciding what to do with Spencer Torkelson. If he continues to improve as a hitter or even reaches his stardom, the Tigers could look to signing him long term or believe he's the guy that they drafted. If he repeats his 2023 and isn't much better, the Tigers may know they have a Major League player under control, but not someone you extend or view as an asset you go year to year with. And worst case, if he regresses as a hitter, you could see Spencer potentially having to fight for his job in 2025 or be on a short leash. So I think 2024 for Spencer is going to go a long way on deciding how his big league future is going to be for the long haul. Now we are on to the people that are in their make it or break it years, and with going in alphabetical order, we start with Shane Baz, starting pitcher, who was drafted 12th overall by the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2017. He was the player to be named in the Tyler Glasnow, Austin Meadows, and Chris Archer trade. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was #8 in 2022 by Baseball America and Baseball Prospects. He has accumulated 2.014 of Major League service time. With him only having pitched a total of 40.1 big league innings, you can probably understand to why it's a make it or break it year, because it has gotten to the point that the Rays may not be able to count on him. He is coming off Tommy John surgery and is currently projected outside of the Rays rotation for opening day. We all know with starting pitchers you aren't going to have a rotation stay healthy for a full season, and he has a chance to compete in spring training, so you know he's going to get an opportunity to prove himself at some point this year. But when he is given that chance, if he doesn't show promise and showing that he could stay healthy, with arbitration coming up for him, you could see him either be traded to a team for a much needed change of scenery or just outright being non-tendered, as we know the Rays are frugal with their money. So I feel 2024 is a big indicator on Shane's future with the Rays. Next on my make it or break it list is first baseman / outfielder Alex Kirilloff of the Minnesota Twins. He was the 5th overall pick by the Twins in 2016. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was #9 in 2019 by Major League Baseball. So far he has accumulated 2.141 years of Major League service time. Alex's main issues has been injuries, in particular his wrist. In 2023 he showed signs that he could be a formidable hitter, but if he also has another year plagued by injuries, I feel like the Twins will either bring in veteran competition for him or even potentially move on from him. While I think they'd more so have him as a bench player that could play when he plays, but either way, if Alex doesn't have a season where he accumulates at least 500 at bats, I think the Twins are going to start to wonder if he'll ever be healthy enough to be a full-time major leaguer. So Alex putting together a full year is very important for him, and with him being 26, his career trajectory can go either way at this point. Next up we have Michael Kopech, who was drafted 33rd overall in 2014 by the Boston Red Sox. He was a part of the Chris Sale trade back in 2016. It's crazy that he's still currently only 27. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was #10 in 2018 by Major League Baseball. He has accumulated 4.041 years of Major League experience at this time, but this is another player that injuries has derailed his career up to this point, and in 2023 he was really bad and ineffective as a pitcher. With a walk rate over 6 and an ERA over 5, I don't think he'll be given another full season to perform that bad. The pressure is on him to perform this year, or he could potentially look to be moved to the bullpen or traded to another team for a change of scenery. Michael always had the capabilities to be a top pitcher, but injuries could have stopped that from happening altogether. We will see what happens in 2024, but if 2023 repeats for Michael, he will have a new home or role or both. Next up we have starting pitcher Daniel Lynch, who was a 34th overall pick by the Kansas City Royals in 2018. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was 25th in 2021 by Baseball America. Daniel Lynch has accumulated 2.083 years of Major League service at this time. Lynch is another pitcher that has had trouble staying healthy over the course of his Major League career. In 2022 having hand and finger issues, followed by shoulder issues in 2023. Lynch will currently be fighting for a rotation spot for the Royals this season, but with arbitration coming this offseason and he'll be 27, if he doesn't put something together as a starter, he'll either either be converted to a reliever to see if that works, non-tendered, or traded. But I feel this is his last chance to prove his value to Kansas City as a former top prospect. Part of me thinks they already know he won't, but since they are still in a rebuilding situation, they might as well see what they got with him. But yeah, this season should decide if Daniel is going to be a starter, reliever, swingman, or even a journeyman. Next up on my make it or break it list, we have Matt Manning, who was drafted 9th overall by the Detroit Tigers in 2016. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was 17th in 2020 by Baseball America. He has accumulated 2.098 years of major league experience at this time. Matt Manning, so far his big league career, has had injury woes that stem from his shoulder and arm in 2022, and he had foot issues in 2023. The case with Matt Manning is his advanced stats checked out in 2022, but in 2023 his 3.5 ERA was fool's gold, as he was more lucky than good in that department. So that's why I still think it's up in the air whether Detroit Tigers will go with Matt Manning. I think they know they don't have a top of the rotation starter, but could Matt Manning still be a number 3 or number 4 starter? Or is he someone that will find a way to stay injured and out of the rotation? I do feel like since Matt Manning isn't the best at striking people out, he may not transition to the bullpen as well as other pitchers may, but I do think he could be valuable as a swingman if worst case scenario the rotation doesn't work out for Matt Manning. But this season will tell a lot, as the numbers don't know what to make of Matt Manning just yet. But 2024 should paint a clearer picture. Next up on my make it or break it list is another Detroit Tiger, being former 1st overall pick starting pitcher Casey Mize. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was back in 2020 when he came in at number 7 by Major League Baseball. He has accumulated 3.111 years of major league experience at this time, and whether you want to believe it or not, this is another case of someone who has been often injured. As for Mize's case, he is coming off Tommy John surgery, but should be ready to go for the start of the season. With him having not pitched in so long, I think the Tigers just want to see if he can be back on track and show the flashes of someone worthy of being taken 1st overall. I do think Mize's leash might be a little longer than the others on the make it or break it list, but also if Mize falters or gets hurt again, you could see Detroit wondering if he's still worth investing money. But that would be definitely worst case. But yeah, the pressure is on for Casey to at least show flashes or resemblance of what made him a top prospect this year to keep his good graces in Detroit. Next on my list, we have second baseman Brendan Rodgers, who was taken 3rd overall by the Colorado Rockies in 2016. The highest he was ranked as a prospect was number 10 in 2019 by Major League Baseball. He has accumulated 4.075 years of major league experience thus far. Brendan Rodgers, even before he got injured in 2023, has been a mediocre hitter, and with him being in a hitter environment like Coors, that's unacceptable. The Rockies have probably already started to not count on Rodgers as someone in their future, but this is also his last chance to prove his worth and value. I think for him to not be non-tendered this offseason, he needs to put up a WRC plus around 110 or higher and stay healthy. If he continues to hit below major league average or can't stay healthy, with his salary increasing and only one more year of control after this season, I can see the Rockies cutting ties and moving on. So the pressure is on Rodgers to produce, or else he might start thinking about learning other positions to be a utility player, but 2024 will be a big indicator for him. Last on my list, we have center fielder / 3rd baseman Nick Senzel, who was the number 2 overall pick by the Cincinnati Reds in 2016. The highest he was seen as a prospect was number 6 in 2019 by Major League Baseball. He currently has 4.15 years of Major League experience. Seeing as he is on the Washington Nationals and not the Cincinnati Reds shows that the team that drafted him gave up on him as they non-tendered him in the 2023 offseason. With Nick, it has been a combination of not staying healthy, but also not producing each chance he got to prove his value. Now he's on one of the worst teams in the majors to see if a change of scenery could rediscover the talent he once had. Nick, to me, is the person with the most to prove on this list, because if he doesn't deliver this season, whether that's because of production or not staying healthy, he'll potentially become a utility player, a journeyman, or even worse, a guy who bounces around the majors in AAA. So the pressure is really on him to perform, because if he doesn't, his frequent flyer miles are about to go through the roof. So this is my list of the 4 players that I had on the cusp of a make it or break it year, and the 8 players that are actually on a make it or break it year. You guys let me know in the comment section whether you agree or disagree with my takes. You let me know maybe I was a little bit too hard on someone, I was way too lenient on this one. You can also let me know in the comment section that maybe someone I had it on the make it or break should have been on the cusp, and maybe someone on the cusp should have been in the make it or break it year. I would love and appreciate your feedback in the comment section, and if you made it to this point in the video, I just want to say I appreciate you, and I definitely have other videos you should check out, and I hope you have a good day.